Let's Podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios, downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. They can help you with print management costs. They can help you with document management as you adapt your business to the cloud, or you can just have them print out a bunch of sophomore QR code advertisements for the show, Joe.
They've never had a prouder moment than Saturday at Carter Finley Stadium in the RV lot, where the porta potties had our guerrilla marketing.
Yeah, I pulled it up on the StreamYard on the YouTube here. If you're watching on YouTube, and I see, Adam Eschball immediately texted me because he does not have your number.
Okay,
and he's like, "You need to tell Joe that painter's tape is not going to last." I'm like, "I'm pretty sure Joe knows this." Also, you got to tape the corners, the four corners, because if you just do it on the top and the bottom, it's going to roll up and nobody's going to pay attention. Again, Adam comes from a long background of these types of things. Like, you're right. But it does fit with our motif of just kind of ramshackling our way through all this stuff to putting painter's tape, porta potty QR codes across Carter Finley Stadium.
I put it up at 11 o'clock in the morning, and when I was there post game and they were all still there, I was worried someone from the porta potties would come and tear them down.
Nah,
that's what I was worried about.
I mean, they might not be there for the Carolina game.
Oh, we got more.
But we got more, right?
We're not worried about that.
Thanks to our friends over at Copiers Plus.
Thanks to Drew at Copiers Plus. Copiers-plus.com.
And if that's, again, one of the things that we are not fighting, but the one thing we have to be aware of is that some people still might not know what happened. People might not know what's happened with the podcast. Well, this QR code is a good way to go about it. Now, you were at Carter Finley Stadium for the NC State Miami game. My dad made the correct decision to not go to that game on Saturday night and go to Carey Band Day to go watch Caleb and the Enloe Marching Eagles. So shout out to Eli, who won those tickets, an NC State fan who got to see a win. There's a lot of big picture ACC things that we can get into in a second, but let's start with both State and Clemson, where the coaches have been salty about appreciation, and both coaches hit milestones to varying degrees of success. Dave Doeren gets to win number 78. Dabo gets to 160 something, 166, I think it was. That makes him the all-time winningest coach at Clemson. Again, the standards are different standards, but I think there's one commonality, Joe. Both coaches want to be appreciated, and I think they both got a little bit of their sunshine on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the way that State won the game on Saturday was very much a Dave Doeren special. Defense with 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions. I thought Aiden White's pick in the end zone was still 7-6 was the play of the game. It's important for State to stay on schedule. It's important for them to stay ahead of teams. And we've seen the formula now 2 weeks in a row. First against Clemson, then against Miami. You do enough on offense. You don't beat yourself on offense. The defense actually is the one that turns around and wins the game for you as long as you don't beat yourself. And I thought State in that game on Saturday night, the defense is more than just Peyton Wilson now. And I think that was the big problem early in the season. And people can go back and look and be like, no, the defense all year. No. The defense was giving up big plays. They were getting gashed because they were trying to do too much, which is what Dave Doeren had said after the Duke game. Hey, we've got to just worry about our job. And I think Peyton Wilson has been spectacular all season, but you can see the growth of the unit around him now, and they are able to win games that way. It's going to be interesting because, as Dave Doeren often says, the chip on their shoulder. They play better with the chip on their shoulder. And there was definitely one after losing at Duke 24-3. That was a bad night. They went back, they got a week off, and they reevaluated who they are and how they can win football games. So they deserve all of the props for doing that.
I don't think anybody thought that NC State was going to get to bowl eligibility the way they've gotten to bowl eligibility following that Duke game. If you had wins over Clemson and Miami.
I did tell you they were playing their best game against Clemson.
No, you were right
early.
You were right about that, just in the same way that you and I are both right about Clemson still has games in them that will remind you we're still freaking Clemson, and you might want to bury us, but we're still going to find a way. I always thought that game was going to be the UNC game. Little did I know it was actually going to be Dabo kind of calling a shot about how Notre Dame is, he did the Lou Holtz thing. Like, oh man, they're an excellent team. Best team we're going to play. But to focus on NC State a little bit more here and about Dave Doeren, it's consistent what we've always said about Dave Doeren. We can look at the larger context of his record. We can look at the larger context of his ACC win percentage. We can look at the larger context of Getting to 78 wins after 11 years on the job speaks more to NC State's football program than anything else. But the one consistency with Dave is they do not quit. It is a resilient group. They might not have the flashiest wins. These are features, not a bug. If anything, we should stick with calling them the NC State Wolf Hawkeyes or whatever you want to call them, or the Iowa Wolfpack, because that's kind of their MO in the grand scheme of things. And here's Dave Doeren. He got a question from Brett Friedlander on this note about, look, when everybody was kind of done with you after the Duke loss, you found ways to win. And you're on the road now with some very winnable contests against Wake Forest and Virginia Tech. Just saying, but we'll get to a rumor in a second. But here's Dave Doeren after the game.
I don't know. I always feel like everything starts with my attitude, my energy. I think there's one thing that I am proud of about myself. I don't quit. I'm very, very persistent. No matter how tough it is, I'm going to keep fighting. And because I do that, I think that wears off on people and in the program. And that's just, the DNA of this place, which is one of the things I love about NC State. Going back to Jimmy V, I've said that a million times, but his never quit speech is so perfect, for this team and for this school.
That's Dave Doeren after the game. There's the Wolfpack game for soft people from Phillip Rivers. There's the Julius Hodge. They prefer when they're the underdog. They don't really do well when things are expected of them. They always surprise you. It's your law of the wolf. And that, I guess, that whole law of the wolf motif gets you to how they beat Miami, a team that, by the way, is going through it offensively. It was a bad matchup for the Hurricanes from the get-go, given what they've been doing offensively. They have not been scoring a lot of points. For whatever reason, Mario Cristobal insists on Tyler Van Dyke when a lot of Miami fans are ready for the true freshman. And Van Dyke continues to just be shoulder-shruggy meh at this point.
He was hurt, and then he was just bad.
He's just been bad. You're right. He was hurt. He was
bad
hurt
on Saturday.
But he was bad on Saturday. And here's Dave Doeren to ESPN after he gets that wins mark.
I know you're not big on personal accolades, but you are now the winningest coach in program history. When you hear the number 78 and Earl Edwards, what emotion does that trigger for you?
It'll hit me a little bit later. Right now I'm just ready to get in the locker room, have some fun with these guys. But I came here to do something, and leaving something behind, something that my family can be proud of. I think we did that. Very thankful to all the coaches that have helped me and all the players. It means a lot.
Congratulations, Coach. Enjoy it.
Go Pack. Chancellor Woodson, turn on the red light, big dog.
Turn on the red light, big dog. Breaking Tea has so many shirt opportunities, from Salty Dave to turn on the red light, big dog, all that stuff that they can license with Dave Doeren at this point.
Was it me, or did he stop himself
He
there
stopped
when he
himself.
was like, we came here to... No,
himself.
you didn't come here to be the all-time leader in school wins.
No.
I came here to win. I came here to win titles.
I do believe him
The
when he
motto
says,
from the day one, Joe, has been one pack, one goal. The one goal is not to be the career leader in school wins.
I think it's a byproduct of having been here for a long time. He's right.
No, I love that he stopped himself.
Yeah.
I'm giving him credit. I have been giving him credit since the Duke game for his messaging.
Mhm.
Picking the fight with Steve Smith, whatever.
Whatever. He was an avatar.
I think his messaging has improved as this year's gone along. This is the big test, though. Wake Forest is not a good football team.
No, they're not.
I think Dave Clawson is the best coach in the country, let alone in the ACC.
Yeah, but they're
not a good football team.
No.
Virginia Tech is now Ender Sandman, yada yada yada, all that other crap.
Virginia Tech's turned it around for the beginning of
NC
the
State
season.
goes from two teams that where you go Clemson and Miami. Like, okay, Clemson and Miami still have more talent than NC State.
Mm-hmm.
Now you go play two teams who you have more talent than on the road in games. Now, this is the most dangerous word in the entire Wolfpack lexicon. Should win.
That's what I was saying.
Should.
It's the Julius Hodge thing.
They never win the should games.
No.
But that's a bridge to cross when you get there. But back to Dave's messaging, he said last week, I want our team to practice like we lost.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mindset that they need, and it's not about Steve Smith. It's not about proving anybody wrong. It's about having this mindset and staying within each week and understanding there's a very specific way that you have to play to win football games. They did that against Clemson. They did that against Miami. They're certainly capable of doing that against a very, very, very beatable Wake Forest team.
To Duke on Thursday night, that was just a resilient win.
Yeah.
For the Blue Devils. And this is all a setup for...
And they almost got the dress like Wake, play like Wake speech from me.
They almost did.
Don't be wearing black against Wake on a Thursday night. Not a good idea.
They're down to their third quarterback. which is something your sources told you about on Thursday.
My sources.
My sources. They got that one right on Thursday. No Riley Leonard, no Beelan. I'll be curious to see if Leonard's going to be healthy enough with this foot injury that he suffered in the Florida State or the Louisville game. So I'm curious to see where that goes. I'm sorry, it was in the Florida State game.
No, he's had multiple different injuries.
I can't even keep track of all the injuries.
Having some problems.
He's been having some problems. Is he going to be off the field for the North Carolina game?
I can't imagine he plays this week.
Okay. That would be a surprise to me as well. But follow me here. NC State has shown this ability to bounce back, not quit. There's a toughness level to Duke that I've been impressed by since Mike Elko has taken over the program. They'll find a way to win like they did against Wake Forest, a game in which, man, Mitch Griffiths, I mean, how many, he would like a few of those fumbles back for sure. I mean, he got helicoptered, 2 or 3 times in that game? Ended up being the difference in the game that came down to a walk-off field goal win for the Blue Devils. And then we get to Clemson, which I'm hoping tonight. Does Tyler get invited to the radio show? Tyler.
Get his game ball.
Does he get his game ball, or is he going to wait for it as long as I've been waiting for my game ball from Tom O'Brien over at NC State? But here's Dabo to ESPN after they had a very thorough defensive game against Notre Dame. And Phil
Pick
Moffitt,
6 was important.
That was huge.
Yep.
And of course, you need somebody to step up. A couple weeks ago when they were playing at NC State, you said their best player was who? The tight end?
Yep.
Moffitt has shown some ability. He had that big breakout game against the Irish. Here's Dabo, of course, in his bag after a game.
And I'm really proud of we ain't had much go our way this year, but the one thing that has shown up every week is the heart and the fight of Clemson. And I know we're down and everybody's throwing dirt on us, but if Clemson's a stock, you better buy all you freaking can buy right now. Let's go.
Every time you just want to clown Dabo, man, he comes back and he does some stuff where you go, damn it, Dabo. Why are you so likable sometimes?
Clemson's a stock.
Here's this. I sent the old meme, the stonks meme, to our friend Eric McLean. Like, is this what I'm buying? Is this false hope? Are we buying stocks? Or are we buying stonks here? But anyway, I just listed those 3 teams because those 3 teams are the remaining opponents for North Carolina, which did the predictable thing against Campbell. And they come out of that game talking about, oh yeah, well, we did some things different defensively. We did our best. They tried to run tempo on us like Georgia Tech did, but we did a good job with that. Never mind, there's a difference in talent. Never mind, it's not an ACC game. You have this game here because it's a stopgap before we get to the difficult portion of the schedule. The schedule, by the way, that Mac Brown has been complaining about since the schedule was released. I do not like the next 3 weeks for the Tar Heels because they're taking on teams that I know we can get into nebulous, very just kind of subjective conversations about toughness, but these are 3 teams that do not quit, 3 teams that feel good about themselves, going up against a North Carolina squad that wasn't feeling good about themselves. And I'm not quite sure that Campbell game corrects much of what we saw against Virginia or Georgia Tech.
No, the Campbell game doesn't matter. The UNC's at a crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you have to decide what you want to be. And at 7-2, yeah, you still have a chance to do something that teams around here don't do a lot of, and that is win 10 games. That is go to a major bowl game. Those are the things that are in front of them right now.
Yeah,
but they have to make a choice. And the way that they played against Georgia Tech is not good enough. The way that they played against Virginia is not good enough. And full respect to Georgia Tech and Virginia, but those teams are not as talented as Duke, Clemson, or NC State. They're not as tough as those teams either. And quite frankly, these 3 teams are going to be juiced to play Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of them will be juiced
3 of them,
to play Carolina. Duke's beat up, banged up. I get it.
But they're juiced and ready to play.
But based on what we've seen out of Mike Elko in big games this year, that team comes out swarming.
You used
swarming.
You used the word that is the right way to put it, the juice. And that's been my biggest issue with North Carolina the last couple of weeks, after I thought that they were a complete team, after I thought that this year was going to be somewhat different. I bought it. And I know I had Carolina fans telling me, don't buy it.
I still don't think you're wrong.
I don't think I was wrong either.
Based on what we saw in the first 6 games, I still don't think we're wrong. Now, how do you predict
You can't.
That the defense is going to look like it did against Georgia. You can't predict that lucidly.
You can't do that, but I do think it brings into focus a lack of juice from the Tar Heels.
Sure.
That to me is the biggest red flag for the Tar Heels going forward.
And the Virginia game as well, yes.
Can I buy the fact that you look at this game and you're like, we're going to bring it? And I don't know. I really don't know. And that seems to be the struggle for Mac Brown to get over on this squad, in that you have to take care of this business. You have to bring that juice. If you can't rely on other things to be created for you. You have to go and do it. You have to go and play for the goals that you say you want. And I don't know if the Tar Heels have necessarily done that. And that's why I don't trust them down this 3-game stretch. The other reason why I'm not necessarily trusting the Tar Heels, when you talk about the competitiveness, the one thing that, and you brought this up on the yellow pad for NC State, and when it comes to turnover games, they've, as much as I give credit to North Carolina, they're having a very good season in terms of the turnover margin. NC State has been more consistent in this regard, and that was the difference on Saturday against the Hurricanes, where so far they're plus. What are they? They're 3-0 when they're plus, and 0-2 when they're even in terms of turnover margin for this upcoming season.
Yeah, it's crazy when you look at it, like how simple it can be.
It really can be.
You can break down every number that you want, but State's 3-29 under Dave Doeren in ACC games when they're a minus in the turnover margin. Like that's bonkers.
Over to our friend Chris over at Dagon Box Scores. He does bless your chart. Here's where things start. Here's where things stand right now in terms of margins. Florida State clearly above and beyond everybody else in the ACC right now, with an ACC plus 129 in point differential, 7-0 in conference play. Louisville's the second best at plus 73, and it looks like they're going to be the ones that are likely to play the Seminoles in the ACC championship game at 5-1. Although Georgia Tech, kind of sneaky. You also have Boston College somehow 3-2, beating up on the bad teams in the ACC. But right now, it does look like Louisville is going to be the opponent after Florida State clinched a spot in the ACC title game.
Yeah, Louisville plays Virginia on Thursday. I do believe they can clinch their spot with a win over Virginia.
Yeah, I think you put it on the yellow pad where you've got one-score games. You know who's not playing in one-score games for the most part?
Yeah, Florida State. Yeah. It's kind of one of their problems the previous 2 years under Mike Norvell trying to get over was, hey, we're in these coin toss games. We're playing too many of them. And, they're 7-6 they were 7-6 in those games the previous 2 years. But now it's like, hey, no, it's a great idea. Don't play close games.
And the funny thing is, it wasn't the most, it wasn't like a methodical beating of Pitt over the weekend.
No,
but
Pitt's,
they didn't.
I mean,
but Florida State was also missing some key players, including Keon Coleman, who was the difference maker in that Florida State game or that Wake Forest game.
Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson. So their top two receivers didn't play in that game. And Jordan Travis still threw for season 9, 360 yards in the game. So they're a talented team. They're a deep team.
Every time we talk about college football, it's brought to you by our friends over at Wings Over. Check them out. Wings Over Raleigh, Wings Over Chapel Hill, Wings Over Greenville. I got an email from Sam who went to Wings Over, took our advice. He's like, you guys do not miss with people that are sponsoring the podcast. Yeah, guys, if we're gonna get behind something, we're gonna get behind something. So if these wings, we tell you they're good, yeah, the wings are good. We're not just saying it to say it. So thanks to everybody who's actually gone to Wings Over and taken us up on checking out those wings. It's great stuff.
Our wings are better than your wings. Tuesday, that's tomorrow. The OG tailgate, Wings Over, taking care of us. We'll have wings, we'll have refreshments, we'll have winners. I'm ready for the OG, the first OG tailgate.
Should be fun.
Housekeeping.
That actually gets us into housekeeping. I've had some questions about the OG tailgate.
Yes. Yeah.
So here's a quick, Q&A. It's free because you don't have to be in the game.
Right. You can just mosey your way over. If you can get there without.
And when I say free, I was going to say you don't have to pay to park. Although I'm going to Detroit this week, and I found out how much it costs to go to a hockey game to park in Detroit.
Oh boy.
And maybe our parking prices aren't so bad in the grand scheme of things. Regardless, yes, you have to pay to park, or you can go park somewhere and walk to PNC Arena. Anyway, the point is,
or you can get Sleek Fleet to pick you up.
Could do that.
Yeah.
You don't need a ticket to the game. That's the point. You can just hang out in the parking lot with us, and I'll probably be a late straggler into the game itself because, hey, why not? We're hanging out in the parking lot, and we're going to be on the east side of the parking lot, the 1,000 area.
Mm-hmm. The tree line there, the pines, on the other side of the I. That's the best way to think about it. So between the Carter Finley and the arena, on that tree line there, yes, our beverages are free, our wings are free. While announcer
last.
Voice, while supplies last. But come and check us out. Tuesday. So we'll be out there.
Hey, what time do you want to get out there?
We'll be out there. I'm going to go pick up we'll set up and do all that stuff. And then I'll pick up the wings at, I'm thinking 4:30.
Okay.
And then come back over. So I'm there at 5 with the food.
Yeah.
So that's 2 hours. I mean,
Okay.
that's plenty of time for people to mosey and meander and come over and argue with us. taste the wings.
Meander. Also, big thanks to our listeners who are rocking our gear.
Oh my God, that was the highlight of my night on Saturday night.
So I got back from Jacob's hockey game to watch the second half of the NC State Miami game. And there was a key sequence where, again, the defense steps up and do the cut over to the fans and whatnot. And what do I see? I see an Ovies and Giglio hoodie from Breaking Tea. Not only is it an Ovies and Giglio hoodie, it's also the one that I feel is underappreciated because not a lot of people get it.
Skyhawks.
The Skyhawks one. When people see the Skyhawks hoodie and they know what the Skyhawks are, they go,
They're
oh,
like,
damn. So shout out to Blake because I caught this. This fan has excellent taste in hoodies, and I CC'd Breaking Tea. And I guess Blake saw that I had put it out there. I guess he got blown up that he showed up on TV. He's like, most comfortable hoodie in the game, coming from the source, represented even though the green was slightly Miami colors. So, hey, man, look, I think it's science. You buy an OG hoodie from BreakingT.com, you get on ESPN. Is that science or what?
Feels like a simple 1 + 1 = 3 to me.
That's what it sounds like to me, too. Now, speaking of the Wolfpack, we went to the NC State Legends golf tournament.
Whoa,
Friday.
Whoa.
What?
How did you end up being on the winning team?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a second. We don't need to talk about it right now.
Okay.
But I have to pull this up. You bought how many raffle tickets at this golf tournament?
I was trying to support Lonnie Poole Golf Course.
Okay.
And I remember from our golf tournament, the best way to do that is to buy raffle tickets.
You're right. That is the best way to do it.
So
I took this picture of you and you look like you just got done at Dave & Buster's after crushing it at the skee ball machine.
You're going to be so disappointed in what happened.
No, I know what happened.
So I go over there afterwards thinking I had stuffed the ballot for the cooler that I wanted.
Nope.
And the guy gave me it wasn't Chip. The guy who was working there gave me this pump fake. He's like, oh yeah, you won. And I'm like, oh, cool. He's like, oh, no, you didn't win the cooler. And I'm like, I wouldn't have cared about not winning because, again, the whole point was to give money to the Lonnie Poole, which if you don't know, in the most NC State way possible, is not run by NC State. It's independently managed by the group that runs Lonnie Poole Golf Course. Okay?
Yeah, and right down to the merchandise too. Like they have to, like it's separate from Adidas. So please, by all means, go support Lonnie Poole because they do an amazing job.
It's a great track.
Yes,
I had a lot of fun. I actually played pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Shouts to the color ID guys. They do the IDs for NC State.
Oh, okay.
All the cards and stuff. I mean, that's a great hookup right there. We had fun, but yeah, the pump fake on the prize was slightly disappointing. And then he was like, no, you won something. I'm like, no. There was only one thing I wanted to win.
You won golf.
I was like, no.
You won some golf.
There was one thing that I wanted to win.
I also just wanted to win one thing. I wanted to win that igloo cooler with the speakers.
Well, okay,
I don't care.
It's not a cooler, but we have our own.
It is a cooler. No, I would have won a cooler, but yes, we do have this briefcase, which I'll bring to the OG tailgate for jam purposes.
It's fine,
but it's not a cooler. I also put some tickets in for these Coors Light, like shade chairs, beach chairs with like a little shade hoodie thing.
Oh, nice.
I was a big fan of that, but I'm bearing the lead. I'm a now 2-time winner of the NC State Legends Golf Tournament. Shout out to my group at Easy Go. You actually golfed with these guys last year.
I played with the Easy. They're really good. They're really, really good.
Dude, this guy, it was JD. It was Evan, who was like the Easy Go. This other guy, Dennis. These were like the Easy Go reps.
When you say Easy Go, you
like,
kind of explain
the golf carts. The golf carts.
And Easy Go carts, like particularly the ones that they use at Lonnie Poole, which they also use at RCC.
Yeah. These
are like the no brake ones. These are like the fancy
like
high tech
automatic
ones.
braking ones. Not only that, and this is the part that I was getting at. It wasn't that I won. That's whatever. Like that's a total fluke. I bring two things to a golf tournament. An amazing handicap. I'm a max handicap.
Yes.
And I'm good for one hole.
Yeah.
I will get you a birdie.
What hole did you actually
18.
function on?
18.
18. What did you do?
I basically
off of their drive?
Yeah. I chipped in.
Wow.
So we also bought one of those hit from 150 yards out from the mat.
Yeah.
So we had a 2 on a 5.
No.
So that helped.
Look,
but anyway,
I just want to tell you that's a difficult format to win.
It
a
is.
Texas Scramble
It's
is
not
a
easy.
difficult format to win.
But here's the wild part of Easy Go. The technology is what got me. So they have this thing called TruePin. And the GPS is down to the yard, man. The yard. So when you get into the Easy Go and it has you the screen, I think they've recently updated the screens because when they show you the greens, they give you like Mario Golf levels of detail.
Yeah.
Like, okay, here's where the pin placement is. Here's the red to show you that it goes uphill. Here's the blue that shows you that it goes downhill. Gives you the entire lay of the land. But the reps from Easy Go were almost like beta testing just how accurate were these things. And they were so hyped. They're like, all right, it says 166. Boom, got out there with the range chart. Yeah, 166. Oh, man, they were hype about this stuff. So it was actually really interesting technology, man. The golf carts have gotten to a level that I did not realize they could get to. I was like amazed at the technology. Not going to lie.
If only you could fine tune your 9 wood to such precision.
Oh, man, they love that. They love that. We also got, I believe the gentleman's name was Riley. He's the superintendent over at Carolina Country Club.
Okay.
We had a loaded group, dude. A loaded group. Along with my
they were really
handicap. And he was flabbergasted by
the 9 wood.
He's like, there's a reason why they stopped making those. I'm like, yeah. And there's a reason why I'm looking for a 13 wood at this point. So I said, look, at the very least, it is a conversation starter when I break out the Adams tight lies.
Yeah. I'm happy for the Easy Go people. I was not happy for you that you won.
Why?
So, no.
Why? I get to add another wolf head statue to the collection.
No.
I'm going to put the score up right up here. And speaking of decor, do you like what I've done with your side of the wall?
Respect the bird. I'm very proud of you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I went to the Trunk Show Fall Market. I had a bunch of vendors outside. It's pretty ridiculous what they're asking for vintage sports memorabilia shirts. And they had a starter jacket, like a Panther starter jacket. It was like $180. Yeah, like an original one. I was like, ooh, that's hot, but I can't justify spending that amount of money on a starter jacket, even if it came out of the OG Media account.
I know we'll get there soon to the home field ones. Have you seen their new Big East stuff?
Did you see Home Field drop the new Miami satin jacket too?
I did not see the Miami.
Yes.
I saw they're calling it the Garden Collection. And it's like Villanova, Syracuse, Georgetown, one and St. John's that they have, and you're supposed to wear it to the Big East tournament.
Of course.
Like they're very, very sweet.
Well, they dropped a UNC women's 1994 shirt last week. So again, you can go check that out at Home Field. We'll get to that ad in a second. But I wanted to wrap up the thought. For $14, I picked up what were clearly like school classroom supply items.
I was going to say, should I make a turkey out of the hand?
You should. You should. So, because I know you respect the bird, and Kelly was very confused. Like, why are you buying Thanksgiving stuff? I'm like, because Jillio won't let me put up Christmas decorations yet, but I want to decorate the studio for the holidays. So, this is from 1979. Legit 1979, never opened bag. It even has the problematic Pilgrims and Native Americans that I will not be putting on the wall. But if you're of a certain age like Joe and I, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
There's a white guy and a musket.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't want that. We don't do that anymore, thankfully. But they had the sweet turkey. They had the pumpkins and some other fall items with gourds. They had a little sign that says Happy Thanksgiving. I was hyped, Joe. And when I saw that, I'm like, I got to get this for you. I got to get this for you.
I love the turkey.
Now, I have a tissue paper, like the ones that unfold and expand. I'm going to try to find a way.
Dangle it.
Yes. No, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to dangle it from the drop ceiling behind you with some fishing wire, and it's going to be great. So we're not done decorating here in the Eford studios. You mentioned Home Field. Go check them out, homefieldapparel.com. I actually bought some new stuff from Home Field Apparel because they've dropped the 1983 Miami Hurricanes ringer tees, which my dad was... I was there for that Nebraska game. I was there for that. You were there too. I was 4, but I was there. And he actually broke out the ticket stub for our friend George Sedano.
I was going to say, you could sell those.
George was in town for the ESPN call of the North Carolina Campbell game.
Yeah.
So he usually jokes with me. He's like, where can I get a good cup of coffee? Cuban coffee. I said, my parents' house. So he took me up on the offer. He came over to my parents. My dad was so hyped. He showed him all his Miami stuff. But in the process, we bought an OG 23 promo code Miami ringer tee. I also snuck it. My dad didn't realize. He's like, here's a credit card. Just buy it. I enter in all your information. So while I had my dad's credit card, I went, oh, there's also this Home Field hoodie that I wanted to buy that just says Home Field on it. You know what? I'm just going to sneak that purchase in. You can do that too. So again, they got great hoodies. Go check them out, homefieldapparel.com. And big thanks to Matt Davis over at State Farm. Check them out, theoginsurance.com, insuregarner.com, or call them directly at 919-779-8277.
Yeah, what happens when you want to save money? What happens when you want to talk to a real person? We have these two worlds collide.
Mm-hmm.
Give Matt and Nicole a call. 919-779-8277. Big thanks to Matt. We got some tickets for the Giglio family.
Oh,
in tomorrow's OG tailgate.
You got 2 extra, by the way?
Potentially.
All right, let me know, because Kelly and Jacob, I want to go.
Okay.
Just saying.
I'll see what else I can do.
Just saying. All right, over to the Carolina Panthers, where they remain very much not good. I think there was a little bit of false hope. They beat the Houston Texans last week because, I don't know.
False hope for who?
Oh, I still found a way at 1-6, a path to winning the division, because it's not like the division is all that good. And that continues to play out.
Yes, it
by
does.
the way.
Atlanta lost another game they should not have lost.
Come on now. They got a QB problem. I think we all understood Atlanta had a QB problem. So I thought, you know what this would be fun. Let's have a path to the NFC South title based on a lot of teams that don't have winning records. For instance, yes, here we go. The Colts were the first game in this matter. They were 3-5 going into this game. They had quarterback issues. Gardner Minshew was your starting QB, as Anthony Richardson is essentially done for the season. They got the Bears on Thursday night at 2-6, right? Or they lost again. Point being, it's not like they're taking on a lot of difficult teams. But where I said there was false hope is that Bryce Young had been building towards at least playing competent quarterback. Bryce Young, to me, continued to not be the problem. So after all of this, it's not Bryce. Bryce has actually been pretty good if you've been watching the game closely and not just kind of glancing up or just looking at box scores. But then Sunday comes around.
Well, he was due for a bad game.
And he laid an egg, man. Absolutely laid an egg. And Frank Reich kept saying that this wasn't a revenge game. No, it's not a revenge game. It's not a revenge game. Not the team that fired me. It's not a revenge game. Maybe you should have treated it like a revenge game, and you wouldn't have come out as just flat as they were against the Colts on Sunday. And yes, to your point, Bryce Young had a really, really bad game, 2 pick sixes to go with the 3 interceptions. Accuracy was off. He was pressured a lot as the offensive line continues to be a problem. And making matters even worse with a close turnaround, Brian Burns is in concussion protocol and likely not going to play against the Chicago Bears on Thursday.
Again, you're trying to protect Bryce Young's psyche. That is your only job for the rest of the year. You can't play for your draft pick position. You've already decided not to trade any of your questionable assets. So all you really have at this point is to try to make sure that Young is mentally in the right position for the start of year 2. Games like this are going to happen.
Yeah.
This is the classic, Troy Aikman threw for 9 million interceptions before he won 400 Super Bowls. This is, Peyton Manning set the rookie record for interceptions. Yeah. It happens, man. These are the games that happen. And, I continue to wonder, like, Miles Sanders, man, like,
what are we doing
What
here?
happened?
Don't know, man.
This is the part of the thought process where you go, okay, what were the moves they made in the offseason that they thought were helping themselves with?
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the receivers and you're going, oh, okay. And then you look at Miles Sanders, and that was a guy last year who put up unbelievable numbers. That was with the unbelievable offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. So here's the thing. To your point about his psyche, not breaking him, if he's the future, you have to put him in the best position, coach him up, etc.
And part of that is playing through weeks like this, to be perfectly honest with you.
Which is why I was bothered by a question after the game where Frank Reich was asked whether or not they would consider benching Bryce Young, get him on the sideline to watch from Andy Dalton. Here's the response.
Is there any part of you that feels that has entertained the idea of maybe sitting him down, letting him watch, going with Andy, or is it just something as a rookie you just got to go through the mistakes?
I suppose that's a fair question, but I can honestly tell you that thought's never even came close to entering my mind.
How's his confidence level heading into Chicago?
I think his confidence level will be great. Listen, I've seen this happen to the best quarterbacks in the history of the game. I mean, they all have games like this, and sure, it's going to be easy to say, it's easy to put it on the quarterback, and but you bounce back. That's what makes the great ones, and it's a long road. It's a long road to as like I've said this many times, the quarterback journey, developing into the franchise quarterback, it's a long road. And so we believe very strongly in Bryce. Coming into this game, I felt like he was hitting a rhythm and a stride. This is a step backwards for us as an offense. We were thought we had several games in a row where we're making good strides. And then we went out and laid an egg today.
So that was Frank Reich after the game. And I thought Frank Reich handled that question, most of yesterday's press conference, in very realistic terms. It actually ties into an article from Joe Person of The Athletic as they approach what is going to be just a terrible, no good, forgettable season in Frank Reich's first year. It was all kind of done under the premise of the revenge game against the Colts. And to a man, everybody that Joe Person talked to, the players appreciate Frank Reich's honesty, his bluntness. He's not sugarcoating anything. He's just being absolutely upfront with what it is. Sometimes I think it's gotten him in trouble during press conferences this year, like with the David Tepper conversation, everything else. But in terms of the handling of Bryce Young, I do think he's been as in the best form possible of being honest, and benching him in favor of Andy Dalton the rest of the way or for 1 week accomplishes nothing other than potentially hurting his psyche.
I was going to say, if he's in physical danger of being injured,
which he's not,
which I don't think he is.
I don't think he is. He is.
But they're handling this the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you have to go back to the offseason and you look at, okay, what was the premise and how is it? Where did you fail in your premise and how you thought you were going to build a winner this year?
Yeah.
The offensive line is probably the number one answer here.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't have predicted the injuries that hit them up front. They lost 40% of their starting offensive line before the first game of the year.
Yeah.
So, or by the first half of the first game of the year.
Yeah, but you know what, though? Look, the Panthers, and this is where you can probably bang on Frank Reich a little bit in terms of coaching. Every team at this point in the season is dealing with some level of attrition. Look at the Eagles, which lost some more players. And we'll talk about the general NFL in a bit. How you overcome that is part of the game, part of the season.
But if you don't have talented skill players, which I think we can all agree on, they don't, then your offensive line has to play a certain way. And I think by the middle of last year under Steve Wilkes is when you saw them go, okay, we're going to run the football. The offensive line really gelled. They came together. They gave you a kind of a glimpse of maybe a false hope that, hey, if this group can stay together, and we, made the move to draft Icky in the spot that they did, and the free agent moves that they had made after Matt Rule, right? Like those were all smart things, I thought, to improve their offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
To lose 40% of it, again, by halftime of the first game of the year, that's difficult for a team like that when you have no margin of error to overcome. The Eagles, I think, are in a different category right now. Plus, their quarterback, the Eagles quarterback, is a running back.
Yes.
He's a complete difference maker.
Which is not what Bryce Young is. Every time we talk about the Panthers is brought to you by Graffiti. Go check them out in downtown Cary. Tuesday night, break-even night, you get an incredible selection of bourbon. They're selling it to you at cost. So if you have this bourbon that you've had your eye on or you've heard about it, they have it as the special. You can go in there and get an ounce pour for like $3. It's pretty incredible. And of course, on Sundays during the games, they got all the games on TV. And they got great bourbon specials as well.
I wish you were at the State game on Saturday. I saw Joey Doster on the Busman's holiday. He was actually at the State game and as a fan.
Mm-hmm.
He made fudge pecan balls with Weller.
Oh,
they were delicious.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
I am intrigued.
Bourbon fudge pecan balls.
Need the recipe, man. Definitely need the recipe for that. So over the weekend, as the Panthers were losing, started getting some responses from listeners, from fans. Because I did ask, like, what is the point of the David Tepper era Carolina Panthers right now? It's just not been good. Just straight up not been good. There's been nothing you can point to and say, hey, man, I feel like this is going in the right direction. Not even down to the development, because you saw what happened in Rock Hill and everything else. From Dan on Twitter, honestly feels more like a Frank Reich problem at this point. Not that Bryce didn't have a bad game as well. Yeah, two things can be true. As much as I can laud Frank Reich for being as honest and open as possible, I haven't really been all that impressed from what I've seen with Frank Reich this season.
All right, here's where I'll defend Frank Reich. Because you'll remember last year, the person I thought who did the best coaching job in the NFL in 2022 was Brian Daboll.
Yep.
Because he went to the Giants. He got the most out of his quarterback he got the most out of a team that had been floundering offensively.
How's that been working out this year?
But and this year they are bad. They are down bad. They are bad.
They're also down to Tommy DeVito again.
They are stink out loud bad.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's the same coach. It's mostly the same quarterback. No, it looks like Danny Dimes has torn his ACL.
Yeah, he's
out
done.
the year. They've had the same issues up front. They've lost 60% of their offensive line. I'm telling you, when you look around the NFL, there are however many different playmakers, and this is going to get us into I was wrong about something. I hate when I'm wrong about something.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
But when you lose your offensive line on the fly, when you do not have the ability to make up for it, you are up the creek without a paddle. And I'm saying this as a person who defended Brian Daboll and showed you last year why the Panthers should have fired Matt Rule in the offseason because of the early start that Daboll showed last year. And even this year, remember in the preseason, I told you, look what they just schemed up in the preseason when they were healthy. So you lose your offensive line, man. You're in trouble.
Speaking of that, from Jonathan, 850 The Buzz alum. Shout out to Jonathan. O-line isn't helping Bryce at all. The coaching staff didn't allow Bryce Young to throw anything beyond 9 yards for many weeks. Bryce isn't doing well, but it's been a failure all around. And that's been my biggest point. Yes, you can point to the offensive line, but when they were, quote unquote, healthier, they were still giving up big sacks. And Bryce,
but they were never healthy.
As healthy as it could possibly is. Okay, so
Austin Corbett tore his ACL at the end of last year, right?
One guy.
Okay, and then Christensen got hurt in the first game of the year.
Yeah, and some of this relates to why Ike Ekwonu has not been as good as he was last year.
But
he's been bad.
He's been bad, period.
And he hasn't had good line mates to go along with it. Totally get all that stuff. The point is, you have to be able to coach around that at times. And offensive line attrition aside, I think we can all agree that they've handled Bryce Young like a baby. They have not just thrown him out there to be like, all right, man, we're going to learn. It's like, you know what Bryce Young's biggest problem is? Last week, they won the battle, right? We joked about the CJ Stroud, Bryce Young Bowl, whoever wins this. Clearly, we're going to make definitive statements based on the QB wins.
They're not both allowed to be good.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this week, Bryce Young ends up having his worst game of the season, and CJ Stroud goes out there and has an historic rookie mark in a game in which they didn't have a kicker, so they were just going for two all the time and converting on fourth downs.
Gilio Tecmo rules, I love it.
It really was, and I don't have the tweet in front of me, but Josh Norris over at Underdog Fantasy put up the next gen stats of what CJ Stroud was doing. The guy was on a rope, man. Yeah. Just laser on a rope. I mean, that's the biggest issue. And without fail, on a Sunday when Bryce Young is looking kind of blah, people are watching what CJ Stroud is doing and going, that could have been us. So the question you have to ask yourself, as much as the offensive line has been in shambles, do you think that CJ Stroud would give the Panthers a little bit of a different edge than what we've seen out of Bryce Young? Is it would the coaching staff have done with CJ Stroud what they're doing with Bryce Young? These are questions I don't know the answer to.
You know where I was on CJ Stroud.
So. Yeah, I know. Oh, and about the Bryce Young getting hurt part, this was another comment from one of our listeners, from Tim. I was never a big believer in Bryce Young is too small, he's going to get hurt theory. But now, with the opposing D-line getting to him before the ball does, yeah, he's going to get hurt. That's the funny thing. I still don't believe that. I don't know. Maybe Bryce Young knows how to take a hit. I don't know what it necessarily is. Maybe it's we get so wrapped up in bigger, faster, stronger that maybe there's something to him. Look, I don't think it's be good for him in the long run, but so far I have not been sweating any of the physicality that Bryce Young has had to deal with. He could learn to slide. There was a couple moments when he had to scramble yesterday where it's like, buddy, no, Bryce Young, don't do that. At one point he went head first, like, no, please.
You get the extra yard.
Yeah, I guess you get the extra yard, but anyway, the Panthers have been just absolutely. It's just. I don't know what else to say.
Everything that could go wrong for the Panthers has gone wrong.
It has. And
yes.
Are they going to lose to Chicago on Thursday? Does Chicago understand if they beat the Panthers, it actually helps them not just in the win column, but also with potential draft picks? Yeah. So the whole tanking idea goes out the window, even if Tyler Banjett went back to being a pumpkin. Tyson. Sorry, I still got Dabo and Tyler stuck in my head. Sorry about that. Thanks to Whitaker and Hammer for sponsoring Ovies and Gilio. Check them out online at wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer, attorneys and counselors at law. I have not gotten word that Gilio has filed suit against the NC State Legends Tournament to get a proper scorecard, subpoenaing to see if I actually won that thing outright, but we'll see. I await that mail.
No, I'm not upset about that. I know who you played with.
Yeah, I know. It's as simple as that. It is really as simple as that. Anyway, check them out, wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer. Also, big thanks to Hometown Realty. Check them out online at myhtr.com. Buying or selling, the most important part here is having brokers that understand, having brokers that not only understand how the market's going and what exactly you're looking for, and new home construction, by the way, but also understanding that, hey, look, things like guaranteed offers are not the move right now, given that a lot of houses are actually going for over list. So don't leave money on the table.
From here to the coast, you need the expertise of Hometown Realty. More than 6 locations, more than 250 agents. 6 locations, more than 250 agents. Go to myhtr.com. You'll see the difference. Don't trust your number one investment or your number one move on some online nonsense. Okay. Or guaranteed national service. Go local. Go with the experts. Go with myhtr.com.
We're moving on.
Joining us on the Heaster Automotive Group hotline already. See, Dimitri Ravanos, Young Guns, the podcast. Joe can't see you because he forgot his computer, but he is probably a good thing that he can't see you because you already have a Santa hat on. And Joe,
is
respect the bird, Dimitri.
I was about to say, is Gilio one of those people that capes for no Thanksgiving erasure?
Yes,
pretty much. Yeah.
This is the thing that I've never understood about all of you that not only love Thanksgiving but love your family and want to spend time with them. Like you're an adult. Why? I did my time with my parents and my sister. Moving on.
Well, here's the thing about, because Joe and I are in similar boats, because your family's not here, right, Dimitri?
Yeah. Dad's mom and dad both are on the Gulf Coast, and my sister's in Nashville.
Okay, there you go. See, Joe and I have the issue where, like, all the family's here. Like, my parents are in Cary, Kelly's parents are out in Wendell. Joe literally lives down the street from his parents. I mean, I think, and don't you have like a sister or two that lives in the basement? I don't know. You like your family, they're stashed. The Gilio family's stashed in all sorts of places.
Yes,
that shows up.
We're all here
over at the golf course.
Yeah,
So
I mean, look, more power to you. But as the kids say on the Instagram, couldn't be me.
Couldn't be you. I think if I was away from my family, I would probably look at Thanksgiving a little bit differently. Like, oh, okay,
no, it's the best. It's the best.
But no, it's like I literally just saw my parents yesterday.
But yeah. So what is it? The Christmas is about the gifts, or?
So this is sort of what I wanted to talk to you boys about today. Do you know what actually my favorite part of Christmas is putting lights on the house, putting stockings up, hanging, what's the nonsense of leaves you put on your stairs? Oh, that's really where we get at it. Lauren saved a photo a few years ago that I put up on Instagram where I am making Christmas crafts, and in the background you can see an ECU Memphis game on my television.
Oh, lovely.
It's really like it's me, every aspect of my personality all rolled into one.
So how are you going to incorporate Christmas theming with Bryce Young? Is he like the Charlie Brown Christmas tree that you have?
We've skipped straight to the post-holiday depression with Bryce Young and the Panthers. No, so Lauren and I have this idea, and look, the Christmas season, whether or not you are very pro Thanksgiving or not, we are coming quickly on the Christmas decorating season. And if you are the type of person that in the past has been accused of being a Grinch or a Scrooge because you do not decorate your house, and the reality is you do not have the time, nor do you want to invest the money. The Young Gun podcast wants to give away decorating your house this holiday season. So here's the deal.
Okay.
I need people to go to their favorite podcast platform, whichever one it happens to be.
Sure.
Leave a rating, leave a review, send us proof at it was the OG goes digital at gmail.com, correct?
Dimitri, you set up the email. I would hope you know it.
It's been, and honestly, I spend every day with the email tab open as I transcribe all these addresses, but I've never bothered to actually look at our address before.
Great. Awesome. Love that. Appreciate you.
Yeah. The OG goes digital at gmail.com. Send me a picture proving that you've done it. And also send me a picture of your house, just so I can get an idea of what it is we're looking at here.
Could we have run this by Whitaker and Hamer first, or?
Yeah, I mean, look, I just like to collect pictures of real estate in the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area. That's the other part too. I need you to be in Raleigh, Durham, or Chapel Hill. I can see from our emails we have a lot of folks in the Triad. We have a lot of folks in Wilmington. Because of your connection, Joe, we have a lot of your family down in Florida. On Young Gun, we have a lot of folks down in Alabama that listen. I'm not coming that far to decorate your house. It has to be within a 40-minute drive of where I am. But please go like, subscribe, leave a comment. That's very important. And send us proof. And we are going to draw somebody at random. And we are going to decorate their house. What does that mean exactly? We haven't decided.
What does that mean? Are you
okay?
Bringing the decorations, or is it like hey, I decorate the house in a particular way. Here are the tubs of lights. You go do it.
We just had the home and garden people here. Super secret now that they're gone. We're allowed to say they were here.
Yeah, Hillary's. Are you doing it like Hillary, where you show up and you say, you know what, that's a decent enough holiday display, but we're gonna do it even better.
Right. I'm glad you asked, Joe, because this could be a number of different things. This could be me and Lauren showing up with a bucket of light. Like, I have literally a closet in my basement that is nothing but Christmas lights that are just in case.
Okay.
So I will happily contribute those. If if the fine folks at Heister Automotive or Home Field Apparel or any of our sponsors want to get involved, maybe we'll just pay one of those 1-800 we hang your Christmas lights places to come through. This could literally be anything. But we are going to decorate your house for Christmas.
Okay, and you're not gonna have a turnover on the way like Bryce Young to this house. So it's not gonna end up being somebody else's house that accidentally gets decorated, even though you were technically the winner.
I do, Joe. This week I am a devoted Jalen Milroe fan. I don't know anything about what Bryce Young did based on Sunday's performance.
Of course,
although. Not knowing anything Bryce Young did, I do have to take issue with what you said in the last segment about learning to slide.
Yeah.
Those 2 runs were third down. Of course he was going head first.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. It's just awkward when it's time to go down. It's very awkward. It's not the prettiest thing, man.
I'm with you. He is too tough for his own good. He is the chicken hawk alongside Foghorn Leghorn.
All right, so let's repeat how this works again, because I feel like we're almost workshopping this live.
Yeah, no, we really are workshopping it live on air.
This really does capture our essence.
Yeah.
So you want people to rate Young Gun Podcast.
Rate and review is very important.
Review it.
Look, your favorite podcasting platform, although if your favorite podcasting platform is not Spotify or Apple Podcasts, maybe it should be.
It should be.
So yeah, then
can they leave a YouTube comment as well?
Ooh.
What do you think? You're better with the YouTube algorithm than I am.
They should. Yeah, if you actually want to help with visibility, you need to like and leave comments on YouTube.
There you go.
So there you go. So leave a comment on YouTube.
Leave a comment on YouTube. Yep, totally fine. And prove it with a picture. The OG goes digital at gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to pick somebody at random.
Okay. That sounds like a plan.
That's all it is. We are trying to spread the Christmas spirit and also possibly spread making us a little bit more of an investable product for advertising.
Always be hustling. All right, Dimitri.
Indeed.
We'll talk to you later, man.
All right, Joe. And Joe. By the way, Joe, I can't tell. Are you wearing a Gators sweatshirt or are you wearing a Georgetown sweatshirt?
Neither. It's a Garner sweatshirt that says G-Town on it.
Do we call Garner G-Town?
Repping the G, baby.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
You've lived here long enough. You should know this by now.
Yeah.
Don't confuse it with G Vegas, which is
different. That's where James is.
Yes. G Vegas
it is
Greenville.
It is like is the formula for being a Vegas anywhereville with a college in it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
It's pretty
Just
much
making sure.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right, boys.
All right, to non-depressing NFL things, to things that I'm right about. I like being right about things, like the Miami Dolphins, who continue to prove that when it comes to this season, they do not belong in the conversation with the best teams in the NFL. This is now 3 times they've taken on a team that's above 500, and this is now 3 times where they've been outscored by an average, I believe, of 17 points. This is not a group that you can trust, Joe. And as much as people want to nitpick the Kansas City Chiefs, and have they been great offensively? No. But you know what good teams do? They find other ways to win the football game. And Kansas City's defense continues to be the thing that holds it down. Kansas City's defense is the reason why they're still a Super Bowl contender. The defense is still the reason why they're going to come out of the AFC.
What? They're not coming out of the AFC. What stings here is Tyreek Hill is the reason that the Dolphins lost this football game.
Yep. Fumble was
what
crucial.
Stings here.
Yeah, and this was the game against the Chiefs that was supposed to prove some sort of larger point. As if winning a Super Bowl last year didn't crystallize the point with the Kansas City Chiefs and Tyreek Hill. We somehow needed a game in Frankfurt, Germany to crystallize it even further? Come on, man.
I think the Chiefs defense is better than we give them credit for. I think they're officially in 49ers territory, 49ers dynasty territory, where it was like, Joe Montana just wins games by himself, and so does Bill Walsh. And it's like, actually, their defense was like really good.
Freaking good, man.
They just didn't have like 7 Hall of Famers on their defense. So you're like, I don't get it. Hill dropped a pass in the first half of this game.
Yeah.
Perfectly thrown ball by Tua Tagovailoa that he had to catch. And then the fumble, which was like a kind of a catch, but the Chiefs defender actually just made a really good play.
Was it McDuffie?
And then they end up scooping it and pitching it Falcons, Deion Sanders style, and scoring a touch. The game was over right there. The Dolphins' biggest problem gets back to the theme of the day, their offensive line. When they don't run the football, which they tried to do in the second half, which is why they played better in the second half of this game.
Mostert had two big runs that eventually got them back in the game, but their other standout running back was A-Chain has been hurt. So then, yes, to your point, the offensive line has also been banged
Mike
up.
McDaniel is a Kyle Shanahan guy. Kyle Shanahan is obviously his dad's guy. Those are all teams built off of running the ball to set up the pass. And when they just drop back and try to pass, and you could do all the motions, you could do all this, you could do all the stuff you want to do.
Yeah.
Fact of the matter is, if you can't keep a defense honest, which has been the Dolphins' biggest problem, they get into these games where McDaniel, I think, gets a little bit too computer brainy with the passing game and getting away from the run. That was the bonus of the second half, was them trying to come back out and establish that run, but it's hard to do when it's, I think it was 21-7 at that point.
You know the other issue for the Dolphins, and this gets pointed out.
The one thing I will say to you about the Dolphins, their defense is legit.
Their defense is fine. It's fine. But it's the offense that wows people. The offense was supposed to be the thing that was revolutionizing the NFL. And yeah, it's revolutionizing the NFL when you're taking on bad teams. The difference maker is, can you win in different ways? Yes, to your
that's
point.
Fair. That's fair.
The defense is good, but the Dolphins have two big problems offensively, and I'm going to give Mike McDaniel all the leeway in the world because he's a young coach and he's going to figure this stuff out eventually. There's two big problems right now. There is the physicality aspect of offense to kind of get them off schedule, all right? Playing them physically, if they can get away with it, that's going to be a problem. If the defense is playing physical and they can get away with it, that's going to be a problem. The other issue, low-key, has been pointed out by some NFL people, crowd noise continues to be a problem when you are doing these elaborate setups and motions and everything else, and you cannot get it across. Right. You know what that leads to? Procedural penalties that nuke your drives. And that's been an issue for the Dolphins the last couple of weeks. It was oddly loud in Frankfurt, Germany for a football game.
Chiefs. Yeah.
For the Chiefs too, by the way. And you go back to that Eagles game, which they complained about crowd noise. They simply could not get things going. So these are things that have to be worked out.
Yeah, but those are all things that go away if Tyreek Hill makes a freaking catch on a perfectly thrown ball 40 yards down the field. Those are things that go away if Tyreek Hill basically takes it personal and plays against the team that told him to F off.
Right.
Basically, you're not worth it. We're not going to pay you. Like, those are the kind of things we could sit here and talk about all these other things you want.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is there are only so many playmakers in the NFL. He just happens to be one of them. He just happened to not show up in this football game.
He didn't have it. Well, it's funny you mentioned the little things here and there, right? So like the Eagles and the Cowboys are a prime example of this. The Eagles, which got outgained by the Dallas Cowboys, ultimately outplayed by the Dallas Cowboys, found yet another way to win a game. The Eagles have been winning games in the not prettiest fashion. And the Cowboys continue to do little things that ultimately take them out of games. Stepping out of bounds when you shouldn't be out of bounds. That kind of stuff, right? And the funny thing is, and some clock management because it's Mike McCarthy with about 4.5 minutes to go. So all those little things do add up over time. And the good teams mitigate that by cutting down on those mistakes. Or More importantly, you just have dudes that are healthy and coming into their own, which gets to the two interesting outliers in the AFC. I still think the Chiefs are going to come out of the AFC because of that defense. And count Patrick Mahomes out at your own peril, okay? But the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens are really sexy right now. Burrow looks healthy. Now, I think that the Bengals beating the Bills says more about the Bills and how their window is officially closed, and how Josh Allen, we have to be honest about the window of time in which he was great. And we're seeing more data to show you that this is the real Josh Allen, okay? But the Bengals look like a different team at the right time because of Joe Burrow health.
Fair, but their offensive line is getting better, and they did the same thing to the Bills last night that they did in the playoffs. They're able to run the football. That it was particularly in the first half. I get it. Mixon didn't finish with great numbers in that game, but the truth of the matter is, I laughed watching the game in Frankfurt. That was not a pandemic special. Every play in the first half was a penalty. Every freaking play in the first half of that football game. And I'm sitting here going, can we get back to the pandemic rules? Pretty please.
But the thing is, to your point, this is actually an overriding conversation we've had throughout this season. Offense is down.
Yeah.
It's just straight up down. And a lot of it has to do with injuries. I mean, we're down to the Tommy DeVitos and the, what is it? Clayton Tune.
Clayton Tune.
Right?
Proud of Houston.
Hey, man, Josh Dobbs is at least getting it done for the Vikings at this point.
What a great story that is.
That is a good story.
My gosh.
Everybody thought it was a wrap for the Vikings with the Kirk Cousins injury.
That gets me back to like when you're talking about crowd noise and sign stealing and all this other bullshit, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Here you are in an NFL game where the guy hasn't practiced, doesn't know the plays.
I know.
And the coach is in his head basically telling him, so-and-so is running an out, so-and-so is running a go, and the other guy's protecting. This is not rocket science. I know we all want to make it into something it's not.
Right.
It's still fundamentally football. Okay. And that was the one part of the Kansas City game. The second touchdown drive was like 13 plays, 95 yards. And it was just a one long clinic. Do you know any of those plays went to Travis Kelce, by the way?
Right.
0.
Well, Taylor Swift wasn't there.
Well, no, but he was actually using Kelce as a distraction, as a pawn.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, wow. Like Andy Reid sometimes is at a little bit of a different level with the way that he motions people and moves the defense around. But that obviously only works if the quarterback is completely in sync with you and understanding what you're trying to do as the play caller. I thought that part was really remarkable. But ultimately, I watched the first half of that game, and my number one takeaway was, woo, I need the pandemic back. There's way too many penalties in this first half.
Yeah.
And number 2, Tyreek Hill, man, buddy, Cheetah, Club Amnesia. I don't know what the hell that was, but that ain't it.
You know what I'm going to do before the OG tailgate tomorrow? I'm going to drop by Breeze Through.
Yes. Dark roast.
Get some hydration. Speaking of the dark roast,
we actually are going to need ice.
Okay, well, I'll get ice.
Yeah,
I'll get ice as well. But no, speaking of the dark roast, West Durham dropped by Breeze Through.
Love the shout out on social media
on
for
his
our guy
way,
Adam Stevens. Yeah.
On his way to Carter Finley Stadium. He said, told you boys next time I was in Raleigh, I'd stop by the Breeze Through, grabbed a coffee on my way to meet with NC State head coach Dave Doeren. Appreciate that from West Durham. So yeah, I got to get ice. I'll get ice.
Yeah, we need ice.
How many coolers do we need to bring?
You're in charge of the coolers too, since you know I don't have any coolers.
You don't have any coolers?
I have like 1 or 2, but they're not industrial grade. They're not.
I'll bring the big red one then. That's what I'll do. So yeah, I'll be at that Breeze Through ahead of our OG tailgate. Also, big thanks to Butcher's Market. Went and served up our ancient family recipe of the ancho chili chicken breast and the charred jalapeno and garlic chicken breast, and served them up as fajitas. And our guests were like, "Wow, these are great. How long have you been marinating these?" I'll never tell. But I'll tell our listeners, thanks to the Butcher's Market.
The steak sandwich, everything.
Good. What's funny about the Butcher's Market, the home base over there on Falls in the News.
You just keep making choices. There's no wrong answers.
No,
That's the
wrong
best
answer.
That is truly the best part about the Butcher's Market.
No, you're right. There is no wrong answer, but also they have things to help you out. Like I needed green peppers and onions. Mm-hmm. They got that there. Yeah. I'm good. Pick them up. And like good ones too. Not like picked over or whatever. Like good, hearty green onion or green peppers to go with the onions. I went with the red onions. Also, I realized I did not have any black beans. So I was walking over like they got to have like cans of black beans. Even better. They had like the prepackaged Cuban beans from from some company. And I ripped those open, put them in a pot, simmered them. I'm like, oh, these beans are amazing. Oh, yeah, they've been simmering all day. So I'm telling you, Butcher's Market is where you need to go to completely dupe your friends into thinking that all this stuff was homemade. It's not. It's all from Butcher's Market.
Great stuff.
It's all great stuff. Also, big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority for sponsoring Ovies and Giglio. Check them out, bugsbite.com. False fall, baby. It's still warm out there. You still might have to deal with some outdoor critters, but the point is, it's going to get cold. You might have some guys hanging out in the crawl space, something like that. Bugsbite.com.
Get rid of those mice, man. They were up in my attic. Hayes Lancaster's crew, they came over, took care of everything. Bugsbite.com. Hayes does not believe in contracts, but he does believe in saving you money. So go punch in your zip code at bugsbite.com.
Went over to Oakwood Pizza Box on Friday.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
I had a lazy.
How'd you get over there?
It was a lazy Friday, man. So, went to hockey practice, wrapped that up. I asked, all right, takeout, votes for takeout. Nobody had any votes. I'm like, well, fine. We're getting pizza. Okay, cool. So hit Oakwood Pizza Box, which brings us up before we get to Hey Joe questions. I pointed this out to Anthony, and I hope I'm not giving away too many secrets. So the red bubbly, right? The pizza wine, the Lambrusca.
Yeah.
They sell a 3-pack of that for $52 online.
No.
A 3-pack. You can buy one bottle at $30, which is what it typically retails for there at the store, and it's worth it.
Right.
But I guess he told me, he's like, yeah, that was a pandemic thing. I haven't taken off the website. I'm like, don't, because it's an incredible deal. So you get a 3-pack of the red bubbly to go with your pizza for $52. That's a steal. I'm telling you, that's a steal. So anyway, went square.
The red bubbles don't make you sleepy?
No, man, I love the red bubbles.
I love the red bubbles too, but they make me sleepy.
Interesting. All right, let's get out of here with some Hey Joe questions brought to you by Oakwood Pizza Box.
I do think the espresso will be the menu item that we end up with, by the way.
Okay.
I'm not thrilled about that, but
that's right. It's part of your bet, right?
Yeah.
Okay. From Brian over at Nice Price. Got to hand it to Dave Doeren. He's like, fuck you. We're going to play the weirdest, ugliest football game you've ever seen, and we're going to win.
2 in a row.
That's Dave Doeren football, though.
It's the template.
Yeah, it is a feature, not a bug. As I mentioned, I'm glad my dad did not go to that Miami game because West Durham was on the call. And sure enough, West Durham pointed that out. Don't know what to tell you, Ernie, IBM name. I did see Giglio with a respectable post-game pull cart of fellowship refreshments.
Yep.
What did you do?
I ended up with this coffee, bought it from the Teeter.
Okay.
It was called an espresso martini. It was 10%.
Yeah.
It was an alcoholic coffee.
All right.
Not a beer,
right,
but an actual coffee.
Interesting.
Maybe a little too sweet. I'll bring one in for you.
All
I think you won't love it.
Because it's probably too sweet.
Because you're like me. You don't love sweet coffee. You like black coffee like me.
Morning times, black coffee, with the counterculture.
But it was 10%. So it was a nice little pop.
That works. From our friend Zach, all positive vibes today at the zoo. Asked the giraffe to pick tonight's NC State UM game. Got no comment. I wonder what I had on the line. But yeah. So Zach rocking the positive vibes only.
Is he ready for hoops tonight? NC State.
Nobody's
20-point favorite over the Citadel.
Nobody's ready for hoops tonight.
I'm ready. I saw Kevin. We spent some quality time with Kevin on Saturday night.
Nice.
In the golf cart, he was like, "Yeah, there's no recruits here today," so he came and hung out for 5-10 minutes.
From I'm just saying, is this turning into Doeren's best coaching job in front of our eyes?
No. Well, he's done very good work since the Duke game for sure, but in my opinion, 2020 will always be his best work. That you got to remember, they were coming off a 4-8 year.
I'm with you on that.
They're in a pandemic. Devin Leary got hurt. You had the backup quarterback. You had a brand new coaching staff. That whole season was a fire drill, and they ended up going 7-3 in the league. So, in my opinion, it'll be hard to top that year for him.
And this is from David. Is Doeren still in the Herb Sendek zone?
You don't want to dump the Gatorade too soon. If they lose out, you're not going to be happy with them.
No,
right?
You're not. Well, here's the thing.
I don't think they're going to lose it. I'm just saying you can't. No. You don't want to overreact each way, but I think you have the right answer here.
The whole point of the Herb Sendek zone is about how fans talk about you.
Yes.
And I am absolutely right when I say this. Everybody after 11 years has made up their mind on Dave Doeren.
Yes.
Dave Doeren defenders will look at what happened this weekend or the last 2 weeks, from his response to Steve Smith to smoking the cigar on the ACC network set after this game. How many times have we talked about the two Daves? And they'll point out, man, this is why I like Dave Doeren. See, he doesn't quit. And they're right. They're absolutely right in how they talk about Dave Doeren in that regard. But then they're going to lose one of these games down the stretch.
Right.
If they lose to Wake Forest, this is where the Herb Zone comes in. See, that's a game you should have won, but you didn't do it. That's the Herb Zone that we talk about. Nobody's changing their mind, and that lack of appreciation will continue. And maybe years from now, we'll have
I'm happy that this season went the way that it went.
Yes.
This was a down year for them. He's now proven that in a down year, he's good enough to get the team to a bowl game. That's good work.
You and I were absolutely correct when we talked about post the Louisville loss, post the Duke loss, that your floor should not be 3 or 4 wins.
Yes.
That should not be your floor.
Agree.
And it was looking at that point, based on all the information we had at that point, it didn't look like it was going to be anything better than that. But you tip your cap, you give credit, and you were reminded, this is why Dave Doeren has had the record that he has. You can nitpick at the particulars of it, but as a team that does not quit, which ties us back to the start of this podcast, which means it's time to end the podcast. We will see you Tuesday.